I've spent the last 35 years of my life trying to bridge two worlds that often seem at odds: the high speed world of media and artificial intelligence, and the silent, ancient world of the inner self. My name is Eric Osuna, and I'm the guy that you see walking through this house in North Berkeley Hills. These were some of the best years of my life. I lived in this home for about 15 years, raised two kids here, had an amazing partnership here and also a failed marriage here. Had lots of experiences, birthday parties, celebrations, anniversary parties, Taco Tuesdays, and I manifested this life without knowing what I was doing. I manifested an absolutely spectacular life, traveling the world, having a startup in San Francisco, pitching billionaires, hanging out with people that have accomplished a lot in life. And also, this was the biggest failure of my life. I ended up losing my family, losing almost myself. You see, I grew up for most of my adult life. I've been obsessed with three questions: who am I? Why am I here? And what is this matrix we're all actually experiencing? Some call it consciousness, some call it life. Whatever language you prefer, I've realized that if you're watching this, you're likely asking the same things. My path to success and wisdom wasn't a straight line through ashrams and libraries. It was a climb and then a free fall. I was born into poverty and abuse, but I used hard work and the occult to climb the socioeconomic ladder. You see, I owned 10 homes, had a high six-figure salary, and started a San Francisco-based AI company back in 2013, long before it was a daily headline. But in 2019, the universe began to strip it all away. Piece by piece, my life began to fall apart. And you can see here I used to call the backyard to this house was the rose garden. You can see back there. This is the famous Berkeley Rose Garden, and absolutely gorgeous in the springtime. You see all of these different colored roses that were curated by the gardeners there, which I knew, and also the volunteers that would work that garden. But I ended up living in this car that you see here for a little over 2 years. And it was one of the hardest experiences of my life to be homeless, and also one of the most liberating. And before I lived in this car, I left everything behind to live in the jungles of Colombia, where I thought I would be free to meditate and explore. But instead, I was drugged, robbed, and left for dead. For most, that's the end of the line. For me, it was a brutal but necessary opportunity to learn. I spent the next 3 years living, little over 2 years living in my car, not because I had to, but because I chose to trade the cost of rent and a 50-hour work week for the time to finally digest the 35 years of meditation and study. I'm 56 now. My journey into the inner space actually started at 20. And you can see here, this neighborhood is just absolutely gorgeous. I would walk up to this park up here where it's called Cordonices Park, right next to the Rose Garden. And there are waterfalls here. There's uh, lots of hiking trails, and it's just absolutely heaven on earth. It is gorgeous. But back to the story. So after a traumatic accident when I was 20 years old that left me with intense PTSD, a psychiatrist didn't give me a pill like I asked. She taught me instead how to meditate. Since then, I've read thousands of texts from the Carl Jung to Plato to the Nag Hammadi library and ancient alchemical codes. But the heart of what I share doesn't come from the pages of a book. It comes from the insights that arise when you sit in silence for hours, year after year. I created 3 platforms because I really couldn't do it with just one. There's too much that I want to say, and these platforms are the result of that synthesis, connecting science, spirituality, psychology with a healthy dose of common sense. Like I said, I raised my 2 beautiful sons here, and we spent many, many days here running around, me chasing them, playing basketball. And when I was homeless, I ended up using this bathroom that's here in the middle of the night sometimes, because as I found out, when you're homeless, one of the most important things is to find out where you can access bathrooms 24/7. And this was one of those bathrooms here, this little outhouse. There's actually a couple in Berkeley. And it was quite scary sometimes having to go here in the middle of the night. But this was the bathroom I used many, many times um, when I had nowhere else to go. And so it's quite mixed emotions going through this park. But I've created these 3 distinct platforms, 3 different windows looking out at the same landscape, depending on where you are in your journey. One might resonate more than others. The first platform is called alchemical energy. Energy like with an I, not with an E. This is about your conscious evolution. It's the work of using your finite animal body and your infinite etheric spark to form a union via the 7 chakras. On this channel, we transmute, we transform, and we transcend. And this channel really is a culmination of lots of reading and mostly meditation, information that came via just a knowing that comes when you meditate for hours and you meditate for years. The other platform is Zero Point Entropy. Here, we look at what happens when truth becomes your central organizing principle. It's the convergence of everything and nothing within you, existing at the 0 point between duality simply and effortlessly. This channel came about really after my work with and understanding what artificial intelligence is. And I'm going to be presenting artificial intelligence in a way that you may not have heard in traditional media or even on social media. Because of my personal work with artificial intelligence and because of my personal inner work and understanding of alchemical and Gnostic texts, I bring that all together here on all of these platforms, but primarily on Zero Point Entropy. And the third channel is Sophia's redemption. And this is my magnum opus. It's a deep, deep dive through a Gnostic lens to explain the universe and the construct we're both experiencing. It's a space for divine wisdom, compassion, and remembrance. Through my work of deep, deep inner searching, meditating, and being led to the Gnostic text, mostly the Nag Hammadi library, I have realized that there is a lot that we don't know, and a lot of the folks that run this planet do know. And as some of you might be waking up at this time, starting to realize that life is not what you've been told, I think most of us have an inkling, but we're so busy in our education and in our goals in life and in our careers and raising families and paying for car insurance and health insurance and 401ks, and that we don't really have the time to understand that there's something else. There's something else going on. And when you sit in meditation, I remember sitting in meditation one time at this home for about 6-7 hours, and I had different entities present themselves, um, and I know what many of you may be thinking. I did partake in psychedelics and plant medicines. However, through this process of awakening, there was a point where, and some of you are going through this as well, substances stop working. Things like alcohol and psychedelics and cannabis, it just doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't function. And I know some of you are going through this because that's what I've talked to other people, and this is happening to them as well. And what I realized was that there is a goddess by the name of Sophia. And I'm going to go into this more in Sophia's redemption. But she is waking up at this time. And the way that I'm going to describe what's going on is not going to be it's going to be unlike anything you've heard anywhere on YouTube or in books. And the reason I know that is because I've read most of the books. I've read hundreds and hundreds of books, and I am going to have a list of the books I've read in case you want to check them out. But like I said, most of this came from meditation and meditating in this home here for many years, but also meditating throughout my in my 20s and 30s and 40s and now in my 50s. And I can't wait to tell you about what I understand. However, I want to be very clear. I'm not a guru. I'm not a savant. And I'm not here to do the work for you. These channels are meant for those who have already started their own inquiry, their own journey. For people who have meditated, questioned the status quo, and are now looking to connect the dots. Now, if my words push your buttons or challenge you, that's okay. By the way, this is my dog Cuca, which in Spanish is short for refugio, which means refuge. And this was one of my refuges here. I grew up. I was born in Mazatlan, Sinaloa, Mexico, right next to the beach. And Berkeley not only has like amazing hikes and um, like I said, roses and trees, and it also is right on the bay and has beaches and has a marina. And I spent a lot of time here with the kids and dogs, and just an absolutely amazing experience. And I can't wait to tell you about how I manifested this life also. But if my words push your buttons or challenge you, that's okay. Growth often, it often feels like friction. But if what I've said to you resonates and piques your interest, I invite you to subscribe to these channels and join the conversation. There's absolutely no ego here, because that is another thing that's happened, is that I understand now what I'm not going to say the word here because I don't want to be flagged, but um, figuratively unaliving, if you will, happens through this process, and it's more than one uh, unaliving, if you will, or let's call it rebirth. There's more than one rebirth that happens, and there's three significant rebirths that the Gnostics talk about. By the way, we're also going to be um, synthesizing and going through some of the Egyptian technology, the mythology, and a little bit on Atlantis and who actually runs this planet and why. And I love them, by the way. I love the people. I love everyone, including the people that run this experience, to put it lightly. But like I said, there's no ego here, just a commitment to greater awareness and a more conscious way of moving through this reality. And each of these channels offer a distinct and separate way that will help you understand this reality so that you can get the most out of it. You're definitely not going to be, nothing is permanent in this in this reality that the ultimate reality that we're in. And one of the most interesting texts that a couple of the most interesting texts that I had to read several times was the Law of One, and the other one was I'm forgetting the book's name right now, but the it's called something Miracle. And these two books really were one of the main bridges to helping me understand on how to create a reality that resonates with your highest self. And through the work of these channels, you'll be able to connect to and live your highest reality, the one that is most aligned with your highest self, if that is what you're drawn to. And the great thing about that reality is that it's the best one for you, and it's the best one for everyone because you design it that way. And because that is what you are. We're going to be talking about on these channels how to get there, and through our conversations and through explainer videos, because a lot of the information that we're going to be sharing, you have to do your own work, but also there's going to be a lot of explainer videos that you can stay on the channel and learn, and they'll be quick and they'll be based on a lot of the information that I've been able to digest over the years. So you'll have a combination of these quick explainer videos and then also myself coming on and going through and digesting this information to you. So I look forward to our journey together, and I look forward to learning with you.